Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today's guest is Amy Zeitelman, and she's co-founder and CEO over at Soom Foods. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me.
All right, so good to have you on today. Definitely want to get into Soom Foods and the work that you're doing here. And I guess just to get us kicked off, let's start with the product. Like how'd you get the idea for this?
Well, my middle sister, Jackie, has lived in Israel since 2008 when we graduated from high school. And her husband has been in the tahini or tahina industry in Israel for, at this point, almost 20 years. So back when we got to know him, as I was graduating from college, we recognized how popular tahini, as we call it here in the States, was in Israeli and Middle Eastern markets, and we embarked on a mission to make tahini more popular in the North American market.
Okay, so when I looked at your website, the first thing I thought, I grew up in Michigan and right next to Dearborn, which is a large Middle Eastern population. So I grew up with tahini. I grew up eating a lot of Middle Eastern food, I love it. I love it all. I did not know there were things like chocolate spreads or snack bites. Did you invent that, or is that in Israel? I've been to Israel once, but I don't remember seeing like snack bites like that made out of it. Maybe I just didn't see them, but I'm looking at tahini cherry chocolate. Did you invent that, or is that like a thing worldwide and I just didn't know?
We did invent that, but it's based off of very traditional flavor combinations that our Israeli and Middle Eastern friends and family introduced to us, which is the combination of dates and tahini, both ancient ingredients that have a lot of health benefits and are also very delicious. So we, inspired by tahini, have been on a journey also innovating tahini in order to present it as a more palatable and familiar product for the American market, since tahini itself as an ingredient, unlike you, close to Dearborn, or other people, mostly Americans with like hippie parents, being familiar with tahini. You know, usually when I embark on a conversation, my first question to somebody is, are you familiar with tahini? And a lot of people say no. So going back to your first question about the product itself, for anybody listening that is not familiar with tahini, it is an ingredient made from 100% roasted and ground sesame seeds. It's thicker than olive oil and thinner than peanut butter, but can be used in both savory and sweet recipes.
And it's delicious.
And it's delicious.
Throw that. I'll
even one-up you on that. It's delicious, nutritious, and versatile. Those are the real pillars of tahini that inspire us to push on with our entrepreneurial journey.
And the chocolate spread, I'm like, what? I didn't even know you could do it with tahini. What's going on with this? This looks amazing. It looks delicious.
Have you tried halva before?
I don't think so. No, I don't feel that I have.
It's a popular Middle Eastern confection, also very popular in Turkey, in Lebanon, made with tahini and lots of sugar. It's almost like fudge, the fudge you'll get at the shore or at the beach, but with a sesame base and really interesting and delicious flavor profile. So our chocolate spread is kind of a nod to spreadable halva, but really what inspired it was the fact that as consumers, we saw the interest in Nutella, but it didn't align with the type of food that we wanted to eat. You know, the first few ingredients of Nutella are palm oil and vegetable oil and sugar. And we wanted to provide a chocolate spread that would bring value not just to our lives, but to who we know is our consumers' lives. And so we wanted to make our version of Nutella with tahini as the base as opposed to hazelnuts.
That makes a lot of sense. And I can see that completely now that you bring up that comparison. Talk to me about the ingredients, because you did mention the ingredients and like how you wanted to be aligned. Like what went into the creation of this product and like packaging and otherwise? Did you have, I know you mentioned that you had family that were kind of in this business or niche. Did you have like a CPG or food background as well, or?
We have a food background, and my family also has a robust entrepreneurial background. So I think it kind of runs in the blood. My grandfather on my father's side owned a restaurant in Washington, D.C., and my grandfather on my mother's side was a butcher here in the Philadelphia area. So, you know, we have always been entrepreneurial in food, but we never had a packaged product business. which is a challenging
How
business to be
excited
in.
are they? How excited and cool was this for them to be like, wait a minute, you're putting tahini? This looks like a peanut butter thing. Like what? How? They must be so proud. That's amazing. How do they feel?
We always laugh that if either of our grandparents, our grandfathers were still living, how excited they would be, and also very confused because it was probably an ingredient that they were less familiar with.
It's the Jiffy of the tahini, right?
Like the Middle East, exactly. I mean, tahini is as ubiquitous as peanut butter or ketchup in the American market, and
absolutely.
It is an incredibly versatile ingredient, but it's an ingredient in the U.S. market, the North American market, that needs a lot of consumer education. So going back to that ideation for the chocolate spread, we know tahini is a versatile ingredient. We see restaurants, a large portion of our revenue and our strategy comes from selling tahini to restaurants, are using it to make cookies and brownies and a variety of sweet flavors. And so how do we portray that to U.S. consumers? We wanted to develop sweet products. So not only does it give us a new channel for acquiring customers that might not be ready to buy tahini yet, but it also contributes to the consumer education of tahini's versatility. So it's been a win-win for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, it's great. And talk a little bit just maybe about, first off, I love the website, and for everybody that's listening to this, so it's soomfoods.com. That's SOOM foods.com, and there's all kinds of recipes on here: appetizers, sauces, dips, breakfast, lunch, dinner, desserts, snacks. I mean, this is pretty robust. Like, talk a little bit what went into this, like thinking about what kind of dishes and what kind of flavors that you wanted to present, so that to start introducing this to the American market and just broader market. Like, what went into this?
Well, it took years, almost over a decade, of working with tahini and seeing what resonates with consumers, types of recipes that they tend to really love. But from the beginning, we recognized that there were other culinary professionals, either restaurant chefs or bloggers and influencers, that could contribute to our mission of consumer education, that it didn't need to reside solely on ourselves, my sisters and I, or our small team, to develop these recipes. So from a very early stage, we reached out to food bloggers and food influencers at this point, since that platform has changed so dramatically, and they were developing recipes that they were inspired by or knew resonated with their followers. So a lot of the recipes that you see on our website have been made in partnership with other food professionals and photographed by professional food photographers, because like our position in the tahini market, we are not the sole experts on tahini, nor did we invent or discover tahini, right? We really see ourselves as a link in this global kind of shared graciousness of a great ingredient. So we love to highlight other people and partner with other people to help develop these recipes. And what we hope it does is become a platform that is very easily searchable, right? If you have tahini at home and you're thinking of, I need something for breakfast, that helps you come up with breakfast ideas. Or maybe you're at home and you see that you have chicken and broccoli and tahini in the pantry. What are some recipes that you can use those ingredients in to make cooking a little easier and more pleasant?
Or if you want a cocktail and you see this delicious chocolate coffee cocktail, what? Like,
well, tahini and
you can go on the website too. I didn't even know that. Like, my mind is blown. I thought I knew something about tahini, and then I'm like, that's why I like podcasting right here, Amy.
That's amazing. And that's really what keeps us going and so inspired in the very challenging entrepreneurial journey, is how inspiring and how motivating the ingredient is itself. Once you have tahini and understand how you can use it, when you think about it as a substitute for fat, like that baseline of olive oil to peanut butter, have you put peanut butter in a smoothie before? Have you put olive oil on your vegetables before? That is where it really shows the range of tahini as an ingredient.
I love it. It's a great story, one that I'm happy to bring my audience. So talk to me about the rollout and the plan to continue to spread the word about Soom Foods, about, of course, the tahini, the various products you have that are tahini. Talk about the rollout and what's next for the company. Yeah,
well, consumer sales is actually a fraction of our business. A very large percentage, over 50% of our business, still comes from selling tahini to restaurants, small manufacturers, and small food chains across the country. And that has been really instrumental, not only in the foundation of our business and our revenue and our growth, but also in the credibility of our brand and that contribution to the consumer education, right? If you go into a restaurant and you see a tahini chocolate chip cookie on the menu, hopefully you have that same experience that you just had on our website, like, wow, tahini and a cookie, I never thought of that before. And then you see tahini on a blog or something of the likes. And so the food service side of our business has been really instrumental in helping us to grow the category and acquire customers. But alongside of that, we all know and probably picture a food business being in every grocery store across the country. I know that that was my sister's and my dream when we started the company. But going into retail is really challenging. So early on, we had our tahini available on Amazon because of the fact that we had national distribution and representation of Soom tahini from restaurants. So if somebody mentioned us in an article, like in Food and Wine or Bon Appetit, very graciously chefs would mention that they're using Soom tahini. Customers all across the country could buy the tahini, and it's hard to get people to check out on your website, but on Amazon. That's been really instrumental for us. And lastly, when COVID hit and consumer adoption of new ingredients really accelerated our growth into homes, both online and in the grocery stores that we were in, that's when we knew it was time to invest into the brand, into the CPG, the consumer side of the business, in order to best position us for our growth into retail. So since 2021 or so, we rebranded, we brought on the right team members, and now we've been growing into these retail channels. So we'll be finishing up the year in almost 4,000 doors across the country, which has been a great compliment in terms of, you know, accomplishing our overall mission.
That's amazing. And what shelf space, like what aisle is this in so people can check it out?
That's a really great question.
And by the way, so they can check it out, so they can look, and so that they can tell their local grocer why don't they have it if they're looking.
Also, very good point, and one that I appreciate tremendously. In the natural channel, we're primarily in the nut butter section. My sisters and I worked really hard to get tahini out of the international aisle and into the nut butter section because we saw it as a great substitute for peanut butters, almond butters, cashew butters, and the like. However, we've been slowly reaching more and more conventional stores like Publix, and it really depends where those stores merchandise tahini. So, you know, putting our ego aside and what our original intention was to make tahini more like peanut butter, we also recognize that the grocery stores understand their consumers best. So in a store like Publix, for instance, we are in that international aisle in the kosher section, and that's been a tremendous learning opportunity as well. So the best thing to do is to ask your local clerk or grocery store manager where they sell the tahini. Hopefully Soom will be in that set. And we've come a long way because back when I started Soom 12 years ago and I would ask a store clerk, you know, where do you sell your tahini? They had no idea what tahini
like,
was.
What are you talking about?
What is that? Exactly.
We don't sell that at the store.
Right.
I could see that.
You've got it.
Oh, that's amazing. You're right. I would be looking. That's what I was thinking of. I'm like, I want to go check it out, see where I can find it. So I got to look at either the tahini section or I got to go to the peanut butter section, one of those two, and check it out and find it. So this is great. And then I also see, like, just looking through this, I feel like there's a community component to this as well. Like I see you have shirts, a cookbook, a lot of other things that you're doing just to reinforce the brand and the community component of this overall. Like, can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been important for us to stay connected to our customers because we recognize that there was an accomplishment in having somebody buy tahini once, but it was a true accomplishment to have somebody buy it again. Anybody will try something once, but the question is whether they'll use up that jar and then buy it a second time.
True.
So
yeah, that's so true.
Really work to, build community primarily on Facebook because that is where our consumers mostly are, especially for this tahini product. But we've also been active on Instagram and other social media sites for a while, and we really appreciate leaning into and supporting those partners I was talking about, whether it's the chefs at restaurants or the bloggers. We've been working with many of these people now for over a decade, and it is that personal relationship that I think differentiates us because tahini at the end of the day is a commodity, but we all recognize that there are brands there that take commodities into more of a personal sphere as a brand.
Who made the cookbook? It looks delicious.
Thank you. I wrote that cookbook with
Did you?
Really
okay,
great
okay.
author.
That's amazing. Go ahead.
A local cookbook author from the Philly community engaged with us one day and asked, "Are you interested in writing a cookbook?" And we said, "No, we're not chefs and we're not cookbook authors." And like all of our approach, when we find somebody that can add
Don't you always like to start with a big no? Like, no.
Always. No.
Always.
It makes life a lot
Easier.
easier.
You want free money? No. What? Yeah, I just said no. Go ahead.
I am the epitome of no. It took us 8 years to even sell anything besides really tahini. I mean, the chocolate has been there, but our real core is really on one thing. And I think when you're able to say no, the yeses are so much more impactful. And that is exactly what happened with the cookbook. We said no, and we didn't say yes until we knew it was right. We wrote a great cookbook, similar to the style of the website, with tahini recipes for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and desserts. And it's been a tremendous asset for the company, for the brand, and for our commitment to consumer education. I'd love to send you one, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in on that for sure. My friends know that the one thing that I do have ego on is my cooking, and that's because it's not that good. So, so they don't have the heart to tell me that I'm not as good as I think I am. But if they're listening to this, I know it's okay. Keep on lying to me. It's okay.
Well, tahini is that special ingredient that really makes everything better. So I'm excited to give you a new tool in your arsenal.
I'm in. That sounds amazing. And you did mention something that I just want to pull back out of your last comments, and that is you had the first product for 8 years and made sure that was perfected. Did I hear that correctly? Because that's big. Is that correct?
That's correct. We had a little bit of a detour with a line of products. They were refrigerated tahini dips that were way too early and way too expensive to successfully scale. And that distracted us for about 10 months in 2015. So it was a really hard lesson to learn. We wasted a lot of time and a lot of capital, but it also gave us that great realization that allowed us to say no to everything else and say, we have enough to do with just tahini. Let's focus on that and see where it can get us.
Yeah, that's great. I just bring that little piece out because I knew there was a backstory. I just had a feeling there was, I should say. And for many of the entrepreneurs that'll listen to this big entrepreneurial audience, and it can be tough sometimes for them to stay focused, stay on that one thing, like you said, and to perfect that before adding maybe some additional things. So I just love bringing that out because I'm like, can we become good at one thing first, right? Can we get really good at one? And before we start, spreading ourselves thin, or not thin necessarily, but, spreading ourselves out. I'm just trying to make a tahini pun, but it's not coming to me, Amy. I'm trying real hard over here.
You're doing an awesome job.
I'm trying real hard on the tahini spread ourselves thin. Nothing? Okay, it's fine. Well,
I'm taking what you're laying down. I think we'll all get it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, Amy, I just have to say this has been so much fun having you on the show today, getting to know more about Soom Foods, about the platform, about just everything that you're doing here. It's great. I'm just so excited, and I can speak for also my grandparents as well. If they were around, they would get a kick out of this. They'd be like, what? Tahini, this looks like my... I think it's amazing. I know your family's got to be so proud. And what's fun is I can see just packaging, everything else, the way that you're going about this. It's going to be exciting. One day I'm going to be going through the aisle and I'm going to be like, what? Look at this. And it can be a household thing here, just like anything else. And it starts somewhere. And in my opinion, at least for myself, it started with Soom and Soom Foods and me having this realization. So thank you for, again, coming on the show. If somebody wants to learn more, follow the Soom Food journey, whether it's on social media, website, otherwise, how do they do that?
We're pretty buttoned up. We are Soom Foods across all channels, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, our website, soomfoods.com. Thanks for highlighting that before. LinkedIn, Pinterest. If you have any tahini at home and have any questions on how to use it, you will find some answers through any channel you're most comfortable with.
Amazing. And for the audience, just so you know, we'll put all the links and all that good stuff in the show notes per usual. So you can just click on the links and head right on over and Speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or engaging in an episode, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, and really having them share their journey, their mission, the reason behind why they do what they do, like what gets them fired up in the morning and motivated to go out there and make it happen. If that sounds interesting or fun or exciting to you, we welcome you. Hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based individuals coming up the line. We don't want you to miss a thing. This is a daily show, so each and every day we are releasing new content for you. So again, hit that subscribe button so you get the notifications. And Amy, again, thank you so much for coming to the show. It's been so much fun having you on. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam.